Right, getting right into it today. We're looking at this industrial society and its future.
Yeah,
It's better known as the Unabomber Manifesto.
right.
Uh, Pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, that is.
So this was written by Theodore Kaczynski,
Yes.
Harvard mathematician,
Mm-hmm.
turned, I guess you could say, radical anti-technology activist.
Yes. A figure both brilliant and deeply troubled,
Right.
whose actions aimed to force the world to confront his ideas. And I think it's crucial to state upfront that our purpose today is to analyze the core arguments of his manifesto,
Right.
not to endorse or glorify his actions.
Exactly. It's a real intellectual tightrope walk.
Yeah.
We're going to be dissecting some complex philosophical and sociological arguments.
Mm-hmm.
And they're from a source that's undeniably marked by violence.
Right.
So what's the mission for our deep dive today?
Well, to unpack Kaczynski's central critique of technology, his
Right.
unsettling psychological portrait of modern society,
Mm-hmm.
and his radical, even revolutionary vision for the future, we're going to delve into the source material itself, along with some critical analyses.
Sounds intense.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin with a text like this?
Well, at its heart, the Unabomber Manifesto argues that the Industrial Revolution, for all its progress, was a catastrophic turning point for humanity.
Catastrophic. That's a strong word.
It is.
What specifically did he see as going so wrong?
Well, Kaczynski believed that industrialization led to several interconnected crises.
Okay.
One is what he termed psychological malaise,
Okay.
a sense of emptiness and lack of purpose in modern life.
Okay. I can see how that might connect to technology, replacing a lot of what used to give people meaning
Right?
through work or community.
Exactly. He argued that this void gets filled with what we call surrogate activities,
Okay.
things we pursue that mimic fulfilling tasks but lack the deep satisfaction of what he called the power process.
The power process.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. It sounds pretty central to his thinking.
It is. He believed humans have a fundamental drive to exert effort towards a goal and experience the reward of achieving it.
Mm-hmm.
In pre-industrial societies, this was woven into the fabric of daily life,
Right.
farming, building, providing for your family.
Yeah.
But technology, while making life easier in many ways,
Right.
removed those inherent challenges.
So we're left chasing that feeling of accomplishment through,
Exactly.
less essential activities.
Right.
Work, hobbies, even maybe some forms of activism.
Precisely. And because these are often detached from our primal needs,
Yeah.
they ultimately fail to satisfy this power process,
Okay.
leading to frustration and emptiness.
It's a bit like running on a treadmill.
Yeah,
You're putting in the effort, but not really getting anywhere meaningful.
a very apt analogy. Now, layering on top of this psychological critique
Oh.
is Kaczynski's analysis of what he termed the modern leftist.
This is where things get a bit controversial, right?
Indeed. He painted a psychological portrait of this group driven by feelings of inferiority and what he called over-socialization. He suggested they often identify with the perceived weak or marginalized,
Right.
not out of genuine empathy, but to compensate for their own insecurities.
So he's essentially saying their political stances are a projection of their internal struggles.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
He went on to argue that over-socialization,
Okay.
the internalizing of societal norms to an extreme,
Mm-hmm.
prevents these individuals from questioning the very system
Right.
that's causing their distress.
Whether you agree with his assessment or, find it deeply flawed,
Yeah,
it's certainly thought-provoking.
it is.
It raises questions about, the psychological roots of not only political ideology, but also any strongly held belief system.
Precisely. It challenges us to examine the motivations behind our own convictions.
Yeah.
And to consider whether they truly serve our well-being or are simply perpetuating a cycle of dissatisfaction.
So if you've got this sense of psychological unease, this malaise,
Right.
coupled with the critique of how we cope with it. But how does technology itself directly contribute to the problem, according to Kaczynski?
He saw technology as the primary driver of this decline,
Okay.
arguing it isolates us from nature, disrupts genuine social connection,
Right.
and ultimately erodes human autonomy.
It's like we're becoming increasingly reliant on systems we can't fully control,
Exactly.
losing touch with both the natural world and our own agency.
Exactly. And while his methods were criminal,
Right.
it's hard to deny some resonance with today's world.
Yeah.
Consider the anxieties around social media,
Mm-hmm.
data privacy algorithms shaping our choices.
Right.
All of these echo Kaczynski's fears, though expressed through violence, of course.
It's a disturbing parallel, for sure.
Yes.
But if technology is the root of this malaise, as he claims,
Mm-hmm.
what's the antidote? Can we simply unplug and return to a pre-industrial way of life?
Well, that's where Kaczynski's argument takes an even more radical turn.
Okay.
He dismissed attempts to humanize technology or reform the system as inherently futile.
So no tweaking the code, no ethical guidelines for AI, nothing like that.
He saw technology and freedom as fundamentally incompatible.
Okay.
Any attempt at control, he believed, would be met with fierce resistance
Right.
from those in power who benefit from the status quo.
Okay, so if reform is off the table,
Right.
what he propose? Where does this all lead?
His solution was nothing short of a complete revolution against the industrial system itself,
Wow.
a dismantling of the technological structures that define modern life.
We're not talking about a software update here,
No,
but a full-on system reboot.
exactly. He called for a return to a simpler, more nature-centered existence, where human autonomy and connection to the natural world would be paramount.
It's a radical vision, to say the least.
It is.
But there's also a certain paradox here. He's using the very technology he condemns to spread this message.
Absolutely. That tension highlights the complexities and contradictions inherent in his thinking.
Yeah.
And it raises serious questions about the feasibility of his proposed solution.
So what did Kaczynski envision for the future? Was there any room for hope in his worldview, or was it pure dystopian pessimism?
Kaczynski laid out two snarkily contrasting paths: a dystopian future of unchecked technological control leading to dehumanization,
Okay.
or a radical break from the industrial system allowing for the restoration of human autonomy and a reconnection with nature.
Two vastly different outcomes.
Yes.
But before we dive into those potential futures, I think we need to unpack the specifics of his proposed revolution.
Okay.
What would dismantling the industrial system actually look like, according to Kaczynski?
That's a great point, and one we'll explore in detail in just a moment. We'll delve into his specific ideas about nature freedom
Okay.
and the difficult transition he envisioned. So we were discussing Kaczynski's radical call for a revolution against the industrial system itself.
Right.
A dismantling of the very structures that define modern life.
Right, and I think to really grasp the magnitude of that idea, we need to explore what he saw as the alternative.
Okay.
What role did nature play in his vision for a post-industrial world?
For Kaczynski, nature wasn't just some idyllic escape from the pressures of modern society. It was fundamental to human well-being,
Okay.
a source of both individual and societal health.
So more than just a romantic ideal of returning to a simpler life?
Exactly. He argued that reconnecting with nature was essential for human flourishing.
Okay.
He saw in the natural world a model of balance and autonomy that was fundamentally lacking in the modern, technologically driven world.
So it wasn't just about rejecting technology, but about embracing something deeper,
Right.
a way of being that he felt was more in tune with our true nature.
Precisely. He believed that the struggle to preserve and restore wilderness could serve as a unifying force, a source of meaning and purpose for those seeking to oppose the industrial system. It was about finding a sense of belonging and agency within a larger, interconnected web of life.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. I think many people today feel a similar pull towards nature,
Right.
a longing for something more authentic and grounding in a world that often feels artificial and overwhelming.
Absolutely. And while Kaczynski's solution was undeniably extreme,
Yeah.
his emphasis on the importance of nature resonates with various philosophical and environmental movements
Right.
that advocate for a more harmonious relationship between humanity and the natural world.
But even if we acknowledge the importance of nature, how realistic is it to dismantle the industrial system?
Right.
Could we truly return to a more nature-centered way of life on a global scale?
That's a question Kaczynski himself grappled with.
Okay.
He acknowledged the immense challenges and sacrifices involved in such a transition.
Yeah.
He didn't shy away from the potential for conflict and suffering during this period of radical change.
So not exactly a utopian vision of peaceful coexistence.
No. He saw it as a necessary struggle,
Okay.
a painful but ultimately essential break from a system he believed was leading humanity towards a catastrophic future.
So a kind of bitter pill scenario,
Yeah.
a short-term upheaval for a long-term gain.
Huh.
He truly believed the stakes were that high.
Absolutely. He argued that the longer humanity remained dependent on the industrial system,
Okay.
the more difficult it would become to break free from its grip. He saw the window of opportunity closing rapidly.
A rather pessimistic view of our capacity for change, wouldn't you say?
It is, and
Yeah.
it's important to note that not everyone shares Kaczynski's perspective.
Right.
There are many who believe that we can harness technology for good, mitigate its negative effects,
Right.
and create a more just and sustainable future.
Right. There's a whole spectrum of thought on this, from techno-utopians who see technology as the solution to our problems,
Yes.
to those who advocate for a more cautious and selective approach to technological development.
Exactly. And while Kaczynski's manifesto might seem extreme,
Yeah.
it compels us to confront this fundamental debate about the role of technology
Right.
in shaping our individual and collective future.
It pushes us to examine our own assumptions and consider the potential consequences of our choices, both personal and societal.
Precisely. And to fully grasp the gravity of his argument,
Okay.
we need to explore the future he envisioned if we fail to heed his warnings.
Okay.
What did Kaczynski predict would happen if technology continued on its current trajectory?
Let's dive into those predictions.
Yeah.
Did he offer any glimpses of hope, or was it all doom and gloom?
Kaczynski laid out a chilling vision of a future where technology had advanced to a point of complete control over human behavior.
Kind of technological dystopia where humans are essentially cogs in a machine,
Yes.
controlled by forces beyond their comprehension.
Exactly. He believed that unchecked technological advancement would erode freedom and autonomy,
Right.
turning individuals into mere components of a vast impersonal system. He envisioned a world of constant surveillance, genetic engineering, and sophisticated psychological manipulation.
A world where individuality is suppressed and people are molded to fit the needs of the technological system.
Precisely. And while this might seem like science fiction,
Yeah.
it's worth noting that some of his predictions are eerily relevant to
Right.
contemporary concerns.
Huh.
Think of the rise of artificial intelligence,
Mm.
the increasing sophistication of surveillance technologies,
Right.
and the growing power of algorithms to shape our thoughts and behaviors.
Right. Those issues are no longer confined to the realm of science fiction.
Yeah.
They're very real and pressing concerns for many people today.
Absolutely. But Kaczynski didn't just offer a vision of dystopia.
Okay.
He also presented an alternate, a glimmer of hope amid the darkness.
Okay.
He believed that if humanity acted decisively,
Okay.
if we were willing to make radical changes to our way of life, we could still avert this technological nightmare.
So it wasn't entirely hopeless. There's a potential for a different outcome.
Yes, but this alternate path demanded a fundamental shift in our values and priorities.
Okay.
Kaczynski argued for a rejection of the pursuit of endless technological progress in favor of a simpler, more nature-centered way of life.
Okay.
He believed this was the only way to reclaim our freedom and ensure the long-term survival of our species.
A call to reevaluate our relationship with technology and redefine what truly matters for human well-being.
Precisely. And while few might be willing to embrace Kaczynski's radical solution,
Right.
his writings force us to confront uncomfortable questions about the direction of our society and the choices we make as individuals.
They challenge us to think critically about the kind of future we want to create
Right.
and the values we want to pass on to future generations.
Exactly. And while we've delved deep into his critique of technology and his proposed solution, there's one final piece of the puzzle to explore:
Okay.
the specific steps he outlined for achieving this radical transformation.
That's a great point. It's one thing to call for a revolution,
Yeah,
but quite another to lay out a concrete plan for achieving it.
absolutely. And that's precisely what we'll unpack next. We'll examine Kaczynski's roadmap for dismantling the industrial system.
Exploring the tactics he believed were necessary to bring about this radical change.
So we've explored Kaczynski's critiques of technology, his vision for a nature-centered future, and his predictions if we fail to change course. But we left off with this question of how did he actually propose that we dismantle this industrial system he saw as so destructive?
Yeah, it's one thing to diagnose the problem, but quite another to offer a practical solution.
Right.
And Kaczynski was aware of this.
Yeah.
He devoted a significant portion of his manifesto to actually outlining
Okay.
what he believed were the necessary steps to bring about this radical revolution.
So beyond the philosophical arguments, he actually got into the
The nitty-gritty.
of tactics and strategies.
He did, and understanding these is crucial to grasping the full scope of his ideology,
Right.
however extreme or unsettling it might seem.
Okay, so let's dive into those tactics. Where did he suggest this revolution would begin?
Well, he believed the first phase involved fostering a widespread sense of discontent with the industrial system.
He called for individuals to recognize the ways technology was undermining their freedom and autonomy,
Right.
to see through what he considered the illusions of progress and convenience.
So a kind of consciousness-raising effort, getting people to question the very foundations of modern life.
Exactly. He believed that once enough people saw the system as inherently flawed and oppressive, the ground would be fertile for more radical action.
But awareness alone doesn't topple government or dismantle infrastructure.
Yeah.
What did he propose beyond this initial phase of,
Awakening.
awakening?
Kaczynski argued for a two-pronged approach,
Okay.
actively promoting the breakdown of the industrial system while simultaneously building resilient, self-sufficient communities outside its reach.
Okay, so a combination of undermining the existing structures
Right.
while creating alternatives.
Precisely. He suggested various tactics for disrupting the industrial system, ranging from, nonviolent resistance and sabotage
Okay.
to more extreme measures like targeted attacks on infrastructure.
And this is where his writing gets particularly disturbing.
Yeah.
Advocating for violence as a means to an end.
It is, and it's crucial to remember that we are analyzing his ideas,
Right.
not condoning them.
Right.
His use of violence was criminal and reprehensible,
Of course. Yeah.
regardless of his motivations.
Absolutely. But for the sake of understanding his ideology, let's explore the other side of his approach. What did he envision for these self-sufficient communities?
He believed that small, decentralized communities living close to nature and embracing traditional skills would be better equipped to survive the collapse of the industrial system and
Okay.
provide a model for a more sustainable way of life.
A kind of back to the land movement, but with a revolutionary edge.
Yes, but with a strong emphasis on self-reliance and a rejection of technological dependence.
Okay.
He saw these communities as incubators for a new social order, one free from the perceived ills of industrial society.
It's a vision that echoes certain utopian ideals, this yearning for a simpler, more harmonious way of life. But did he really believe this was achievable on a large scale?
That's debatable. Even within his own writings, there's a sense of tension between the revolutionary zeal and the acknowledgement of immense challenges. Kaczynski understood that dismantling the industrial system would be a long and arduous process,
Right.
fraught with risks and uncertainties.
So a mix of idealism and pragmatism. He knew it wouldn't be easy,
Right.
yet he still clung to this belief in the possibility of radical change.
Exactly. And that unwavering conviction, despite the odds,
Yeah.
is perhaps one of the most compelling and troubling aspects of his ideology.
Right.
It speaks to a deep dissatisfaction with the status quo and a yearning for a fundamentally different way of being in the world.
A yearning that, despite the extreme and often reprehensible path he chose, might resonate with some listeners
Yes.
who are grappling with similar feelings of disillusionment and powerlessness in the face of
Complex.
these complex global challenges.
Global challenges, yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Unabomber Manifesto, what are the key takeaways? What can we as individuals navigating a world increasingly shaped by technology glean from this challenging and often disturbing text?
I think the most important takeaway is the need for critical reflection.
Okay.
Kaczynski's writings, though extreme on Preve, force us to confront uncomfortable questions about the role of technology in our lives, the potential consequences of unchecked progress,
Right.
and the importance of finding balance between our technological advancements and our human needs.
Yeah, it's a reminder that technology is not inherently good or bad,
Right.
but a tool that can be used for various purposes, some beneficial, others destructive.
Hmm.
The responsibility lies with us to make conscious choices about how we develop, utilize, and integrate technology into our lives and societies.
Precisely. And while Kaczynski's solution was undoubtedly extreme, his concerns about the erosion of freedom, the loss of connection with nature, and the potential for technology to be used for control and manipulation are issues that deserve serious consideration and ongoing dialogue.
Absolutely. So as we conclude our deep dive, we encourage you to continue exploring these complex and multifaceted issues. Read more about Kaczynski's life and work. Delve into the writings of other thinkers who are grappling with the relationship between technology and society, and most importantly, engage in thoughtful conversations with those around you about the kind of future you want to create. Because ultimately, the choices we make today will determine the trajectory of our technological evolution and shape the world we leave for future generations. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the depths of the Unabomber Manifesto. It's been a challenging but ultimately enlightening exploration, and we hope it sparks some critical thinking and self-reflection for you, our listeners. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.